Alright, no more distractions. Let's go. It's time to jet ski. This is what I thought we were doing in the first place. And then it turned into a much grander thing. Yeah, let's do it. As in, you do it. The two of you began to more quickly make your way across the boards. Despite your excitement, you were both careful. Neither of you wanted an accident, especially after what happened with Cove's first jet skiing trip. You finally got to the rental place. You were surprised at how easy the process was. It took no time at all for Cove to climb on his jet ski with shaky legs. You rented your own jet ski. I said I'm just watching Cove. Heck no, I'm not renting my own jet ski. Are you kidding me? You found a comfortable place on the dock where you could watch Cove. Cove would be a nervous wreck, worried about whether or not I would sink my own jet ski. You hadn't changed your mind on jet skiing and were more than happy to leave it to Cove. You looked across to Cove. He sat motionlessly astride his jet ski, preparing himself to start it up. This is one thing I really love about this game, is that they really give you so much freedom. They don't make too many assumptions or presumptuous narratives. They give you so many chances to opt in or opt out to things. So they could have easily just forced us into jet skiing with Cove, because it might have even provided way more content, but I genuinely did not have any interest in jet skiing and thought it was a bad idea for me personally. So I'm really appreciative that the game in general gives us ways out of things, or just gives us so many options in general of how to tell the narrative. It really makes me feel like my character is indeed my own. Even from your distance, you could tell his hands were clamped onto the handles too tightly. He was stiff and nervous. Go, Cove, you can do it. Come on, are you gonna check it out now? It'll be alright, Cove, trust yourself. Go, Cove, you can do it. You cheered him on and clapped wildly. His body language relaxed slightly, and he turned his head to look at you.
Thanks.
I like that.
Thanks.
That's a cute thanks. He inhaled slowly and started up the jet ski. It roared forward, and you were surprised you could hear him squeak over the sound of the engine. He stopped after a few seconds and breathed again. After he'd calmed down, he started up once more. Cove sputtered and stalled with it for a while, going a little farther each time. He grew more comfortable with the feel. He got the hang of the jet ski fairly quickly. It didn't take him long to learn how to turn properly, and left it running for longer spurts of time. Cove eventually reached the point where he only stopped his jet ski when he had something to say. He kept shouting things at you. This is amazing! Did you see that, Vaughn? This is so great! You watched from the dock as he gained more confidence. He was really enjoying himself out there. He zoomed forward, and you could hear his bright laugh ring across the waves. You cheered for him again, whooping whenever he did something fun. You watched Cove casually from the dock. You took pictures with your phone. You dipped your feet in the water. Oh, I would take pictures, yeah. You pulled out your phone and snapped pics whenever you could get a good shot. You made sure to hold your phone firmly so it wouldn't slip into the ocean. Cove even agreed to pose for a few pictures. He carefully drove the jet ski closer to the dock. His face was a little red from embarrassment at first, but you ended up with a really good one where he was smiling. He went back to zipping about, and you took a few more action shots. Cove continued to jet ski with glee. You laughed along with him. You both had a good time. Eventually the sun set and you had to pack up. Cove was thankfully still in one piece. No cast necessary. Yes, that's the important thing. Second important thing is that he himself had fun. After everything was returned, Cove dug his phone out of his bag and texted his parents to let him know all about his triumph. This was a triumph. I'm making a note here. Sweet success. You sent Cove the pictures you'd taken of him, and he sent the best ones to his mom and dad. While you waited on their responses, he decided to take a selfie with you, too. You go into a silly pose. You showed off your best angles. You covered your face with embarrassment. You smiled. You asked Cove not to take a picture of you. You showed off your best angles. You posed, and Cove tried to follow lead. He took a few pictures, and you pointed out the best one. You liked how it turned out, and he sent it to you. It would be a nice memory. His phone vibrated only after a moment after texting it out. Mr. Holden and Kyra had likely been waiting the entire day to find out how this outing would go. And with the news of his success, both of Cove's parents sent back how proud they were of Cove for how far he'd come. Watching him grinning in the setting sun after facing so many fears that day, you felt the same. I think The charity one was awesome, but the reflection one, man, those are definitely my two top favorite moments of this age. I don't know if I can say that I necessarily like one over the other, because they were both great for two different reasons. You know, the charity one was the one where we finally confessed our love for each other, and the reflection one took us way, way back at the beginning and just told the whole story about the history of his parents and why they divorced. And it was really interesting, and it just goes to show that there's just so many sides to a story. And some divorces are messy, but they still leave the spouses being equally victims and equally sympathetic. You know, you can still sympathize with each of their situations, and it's like, yeah, you can point the finger at each other about whose fault it was, but sometimes it's just tragic, and just things don't work out. And when things don't work out, you tried your best playing with the cards that you were dealt with, and sometimes you just have to cut your losses and do what's ultimately best for your family and what's best for your kids if you have kids involved. So, yeah, well done. That was very, very well done. Whew. And with that, we're more than halfway through these moments of step 3. All right, we're narrowing things down. We just did a watery thing with reflection, you know, because of the jet skis and all. So let's not do boating. And because driving is not my cup of tea, let's do serendipity. Light filtered down through the leaves of an oak tree overhead, casting speckled shadows on the sidewalk all around you. There was a drop of sweat slowly making its way down the side of your face. You flicked it away with your thumb, slowing to a stop in the cool shade. The day had you out and about in town, and in no hurry to go anywhere in particular. You had just gotten something to eat, and there was nothing planned for the rest of the afternoon. Your moms were at work, and Liz had left early in the morning to do something. You had no idea what. You took out your phone, idly noting the time when it started to jingle. The screen lit up in your hand. Speak of the devil, Liz messaged you. Come home ASAP. Oh, this sounds serious. Before you could even begin to question why, your phone went off again. Nothing bad, but you have to see this, so come back already. Oh, okay, well, it's good to know it's nothing bad. And with that final message, you were left only slightly less confused than you were before. You hadn't seen much of your sister lately. She had been acting strange for days, always shutting herself up in her room. Which wouldn't be so weird if at the dinner table she didn't suddenly start smirking to herself over nothing. The rare times you did see her, she would sneak you expectant looks like she was waiting to be asked what was up, but all your questions led nowhere. She'd answer you with a put-upon sigh, proclaim that she was busy, and tell you that she would have to talk about it later. No hints, no guessing. Whatever it was, she was determined to keep it a secret. Maybe now you'd finally find out what it was. As you did an about-face on the sidewalk and started heading home, you received more texts. To your surprise, the name that popped up on the screen this time was Cove's. Did you hear from Liz? About some urgent thing you have to see? Is she fixing us up again on a date? On an unnecessary fixing us up on dates because we hang out all the time? She messaged Cove too? You weren't surprised. Liz teased him about it, but he was like family. However, you were struggling to understand how he fit into Liz's surprise. Yeah, Liz sent me the same thing. What, is there something on fire? Why would Liz tell you her news? Because it probably involves him. Oh, okay. I choose which, got it. I was like, wow, I told him all of that? Yeah, Liz sent me the same thing. His reply came only seconds later as he waited to cross the street. I figured you would. Are you going to see what's up? I'm walking there now. Me too. Glancing up, you saw that the light had changed to a walk sign while you were busy texting. You hurriedly wrapped things up, texting Cove a quick goodbye before crossing the street. It was fine. You'd be seeing him later anyway. Not expecting any more messages, you put your phone away so you could walk without having to worry about tripping over the curb. Thankfully, it was a short trek home, and soon enough you were walking up your street, the familiar face of your house, already in view. Thinking of what might be waiting at home was making you worried, left you entirely lost. It felt exciting. I'm excited about whatever this is. I like surprises. As weird as it was for Liz to involve Cove, you felt that it had to be something fun if she went so far as to include him. You were itching to find out what it was. Lost in your thoughts, you almost didn't see who was walking further up the street. Cove. Even from the back, the bright sea green color of his hair was unmistakable. You quickened your pace to catch up to him, the scuff of your shoes loud against the pavement. He heard it instantly, not missing a beat as he turned towards you and slowed his steps in sync.
Hey.
Hey, Vaughn. Hi. Here we are, at my house. At that, Cove gave you a wry smile. Here we are. It sounded almost like a question, wondering why the two of you had been summoned there. Any idea on what Liz wants this for? You shook your head. The situation was out of character for your sister. Anything could happen. Well, I guess we should go in and find out. Taking his cue, you grabbed your keys and opened up the front door. Cove trailed behind you as you entered. Unless Cove was in on it the whole time. It was Cove all along. You jumped through the open door, scanning every which way for the surprise. From the entryway, you could see Liz pacing across the living room, her smiling gaze intent on her phone. You had caught her just as she had completed a turn. Behind you, the door clicked shut. The second she heard it, her head darted up to your direction, her features lighting up at the sight of you and Cove. Ah, you arrived, and together too. That's perfect. Just perfect. She flashed. I do like her outfit a lot. This is very reminiscent of one of the baby clothes that Riley, my daughter, is wearing right now, actually. She flashed you a radiant smile. You could almost see her limbs vibrating as if she was poised to pounce. Cove raised an eyebrow at your sister's bizarre behavior. What's going on? This better be important. You're in a good mood today. So what is it? Where is it? What are you going to show us? You quietly waited to see what you would reveal. You're in a good mood today. Liz only hummed playfully in response. Liz's eyes narrowed with a mischievous glint, and she let out a little cackle. So, lately, I've been hard at work on a little plan of mine, and you two get the honor of seeing it all come together. Here it is! Surprise! She lifted a hand in the air to present the very comfortable but completely mundane living room. In the resulting silence, you and Cove glanced around again and then made eye contact with each other. His face mirrored your bafflement. Then suddenly another voice rang out in the room.
Surprise!
Surprise! Ah! Is this who I think it is? Cove flinched at the shout. I hope it's Derek. I hope it's Derek. I hope it's Derek. Cove flinched at the shout, his shoulders shooting up to his ears. Laughter came from your sister as well as from the other side of the room. Oh no! It's even... Derek... Just as good! Just as good. I was actually thinking it might be him too, but after what happened during the beginning of this stage, I was like, we're never gonna see him again. Your head whipped around just in time to see a familiar figure with a freckled face and a purple cap spring up from behind the back of the couch. Yay! Cove's mouth fell open, recognition immediately coming to him. Shiloh? Yes! Hi, Cove. Hi, Vaughn. Shiloh greeted the two of you so casually, like he'd been gone for 10 days rather than 10 years. Yeah, he's got some explaining to do. I want to know if he actually genuinely recognized this from before and was just playing it off, and if he did, why? I want to find that out. Shiloh, can I just run to hug him? Shiloh, you were too stunned to speak. What in the world are you doing here? You started laughing, but I thought you weren't the Shiloh we knew. You're actually here. I want to say this, but my gut reaction is to just say his name. But this is what I would be thinking. What I actually would do would be go up and give him a hug, but that's not an option. Shiloh. Like Cove, you found yourself shouting your long-lost companion's name out of sheer disbelief. It couldn't be him, but it was really him. Here, in your living room. With a wide grin on her face, Liz snickered and clapped her hands together as pleased as a child after a fruitful night of trick-or-treating. You and Cove's reactions were adequate offerings in her bucket full of treats. As amazed as you were still wondering one thing. What happened? You had no idea who we were when we ran into each other. Oh, look at him blush. Look at him blush. You've got some explaining to do, Mr. Shiloh. Shiloh's gaze self-consciously dropped to the side. He tugged the brim of his hat down, bracing himself to answer, but Liz waved a hand at him as if to say, don't worry about it. No, I want to know. I'll explain. When we got home that day, I changed my mind about letting it go. Why did I have to? Social media exists, right? So I thought, why not try finding him and sending him a little reminder message? Luckily, there are only so many 17-year-old Shiloh Fields in the world. It wasn't that hard to do. Hearing Liz speak seemed to encourage Shiloh, who pulled himself together to face both of you and your sister with a careful smile.
Sorry.
I'm really sorry about what happened. When you talked to me that first time, I was in the middle of a tour for a school field trip. I couldn't get separated from the group and didn't expect anyone to want to be talking to me. I was so worried about getting back to everyone else, I didn't think too hard on what you were saying. But when Lizzie's message showed up, everything suddenly hit me. Lizzie, Vaughn, Cove, you were the kids of Sunset Bird, back when I was a little kid. There's no way I could forget that, not for real. 10 years is not that long of a time. I mean, I can remember at that age, they're 18 now, right? 18, and actually they would be like, I think Shiloh's either my age or around our age, around 18. And like, at 18 years old, I still remembered my childhood friends from when I was 5 and 6, much less 8. I remembered them. So there's no way I could forget that for not for real. I do know all of you, and I'm so happy I get to see you again. Good, I'm gonna hang out with you and talk to you, because I love Shiloh. I have Lizzie to thank for that. My mom was already planning to take a short trip near here this summer.
Well,
if my mom could bring me along, Lizzie offered to pick me up and bring me the rest of the way here, just so I could visit the neighborhood again. And that's why I decided to make it a big reveal instead of outright telling you two I got back in contact with Shiloh. I love this. This is going to be one of my favorites, I feel like. Once again, she lifted a hand in the air, properly presenting that long-lost childhood friend you all shared. So, ta-da! This really is serendipity. I'm very happy. Hark is very happy. But what would really make me happy is if the next moment had Derek in it. Maybe. We'll see. It was impressive how it all came together. Alright, still pretty stupid of you not to realize sooner. No, I'm not going to say that. You were glad they were able to see each other again. You were amused at their stunt. You weren't sure what to feel about it. You were glad they were able to see each other again. You smiled softly at Liz, remembering how Shiloh used to follow your sister around like a baby chicken after his mom when they were kids. It's nice seeing the two of you together like this, just like old times. Cove blinked slowly, still a little dazed by everything that was going on.
Uh-huh.
Okay, I'm going to get some water. Don't disappear or anything. He padded off to the kitchen, no need for a chaperone. He knew where the cups were. Wow, you really surprised him, Lizzie. And Vaughn, too. Did you see his face when I appeared? Yes, I did. Liz patted the cushioned front of the couch. Make yourself comfortable. You don't have to keep hunkering down behind there anymore. With a laugh, Shiloh crossed her own backside and took the seat, but maybe it was awkward being the only one sitting because he kept idly twiddling his fingers. You could hear him humming to himself, a nonsense tune with no real melody, something to keep his voice busy. Being here again could be more nerve-wracking for him than he let on. Cove's soft voice announced his return. He paused to drag the back of his hand across his mouth, wiping away what droplets of water lingered there. Hi, Shiloh. Welcome back. At Cove's confused greeting, Shiloh laughed cheerily. Thanks. I think it's amazing you're all still here in this neighborhood. It's just like how it was way back then. With a giggle that implied differently, Liz nodded in your general direction.
Mm-hmm.
There have been some changes since then. You narrowed your eyes at Liz. There was no way you could miss the teasing look she was fixing you and Cove with. Shiloh's eyes shifted across the group, still smiling politely, but there was a slight tilt in his eyebrows. He didn't know what to make of what she was saying. That is until Cove cleared his throat and spoke. Vaughn and I are dating. It was fascinating how red he got as he said it, but his voice was steady, confident. By now, most people knew you were going out. Shiloh's eyes went as wide as saucers, mouth opening into a tiny O shape.
Congratulations!
Really?
That's amazing!
Thank you, Shiloh, thank you. The two of you seem to like each other even when we were kids. It's really sweet that you're together. Shiloh, I think you missed it. Vaughn actually liked you when we were kids. I think Vaughn was, don't get me wrong, of course, I love Cove. Vaughn loves Cove. But, being 100% honest, and you all knew this, Vaughn was definitely way more interested in Shiloh than Vaughn was back in the day. Mostly because Shiloh's personality fit Vaughn. Shiloh's personality, was more Vaughn's, type of... Shiloh was more Vaughn's type back then. So, you got it all... You got a little confused there, Shiloh. That's not what happened at all during our childhood, but, You silently blushed. Cove's got himself a keeper. Yeah, it was pretty inevitable that we'd end up together. I wouldn't want to be with anyone else. You just... Because I don't agree with what he said, but we're together now. Because, we grew to love each other. Me and Cove, Vaughn and Cove grew to love each other. I don't think that Vaughn was crushing on Cove that early. I think that had to build, that had to develop over time, which is fine. That love at first sight is not necessarily for everyone. Actually, I feel like it's not true for most people, honestly. Crush at first sight, yes. But love at first sight, I think that's very rare. Super, super, super rare, in my opinion. Cove's got himself a keeper. It's probably up there. I wouldn't want to be with anyone else. I would say... I'll say you just smiled at Cove. He hooked his fingers around yours, returning with a smile with a crooked one of his own, as easy as anything. Shiloh sighed happily at the moment as Cove raised an eyebrow and gave the room a considering glance. Hey, this is where we met the first time, remember? Right after I moved in, me and Vaughn were brought down right here to have a play date with you. Yeah! Shiloh laughed, his eyes downcast as he fiddled with the corner of his collared shirt. We almost didn't meet in the living room because you wanted to jump out the window and to get away from me. Yeah, I remember that. Cove cringed at the memory of his younger self being pushed back to the forefront of his mind, his mouth going tight. He awkwardly looked away from Shiloh. You have a good memory. Oh? Oh? I don't think so. Seeing this place again just brings back lots of things back. He clapped his hands together, an idea suddenly coming to him. But hey, now that our group is together, would you want to go out and visit some of the old places? I've been hiding in the living room since I got here. Heck yes! I want to spend every single moment catching up with Shiloh because this is who knows when we'll have this opportunity again. We might not see him for another 10 years. So I want to spend as much time catching up with Shiloh as possible. Make up for lost time. Liz wasn't afraid to laugh at herself, bringing a hand to her chest to silently take the blame for that. I'd love to. Yeah! Without missing a beat, the others turned to you for your answer. Definitely. Where to first? Why not? You silently nodded your assent. You shrugged in reply. You looked silent. Definitely. Sounds like fun. And with that, the four of you headed out into the neighborhood as one. Even with how short the time you spent indoors was, the sun was momentarily blinding once you left the house. Squinting, you brought your hand up to shield your eyes. The pleasant summer day had yet to go away. Only a few wispy clouds drifted along in the sky. As you strolled down the way, Liz took the lead, followed by you and Cove walking side by side. Shiloh freely took to walking in the middle of the road, his arms idly swinging back and forth at his sides as he turned his head every which way to take in as much as he could. It was very much a trip down memory lane for him. You wondered how much the neighborhood had changed in his eyes. Not a word passed between the group about where you were heading first, but soon enough you found yourselves walking the usual path to the shopping street. Before you reached it, a collective of sandals tracking sand, the shrill calls of seagulls, the overlapping conversations of beachgoers, and random strains of music from various stalls. The sounds of it did. Wow! The odd gasp had come from Shiloh. His eyes were all lit up. Were there always so many different stores in one place?
Yeah.
Yeah, of course. Wow, I can see why so many people come here. Hey, do they still have those nice little ice cream stands? Yeah, that hasn't changed. Yay, we should go get some. It'll be my treat. Thanks, Shiloh. Ice cream sounds perfect on such a hot day. How about you, Cove? You could see that, unlike Liz, Cove was struggling with the decision, brow wrinkled in thought. Finally, a hesitant smile appeared on his face as he settled on keeping to the spirit of this special occasion. Yeah, sounds good to me. Awesome. And Vaughn? Ice cream? Me and ice cream? Oh, I'm always there. I'd like that, thanks. I don't want any. I'd rather pay for myself. I'll buy one for me and one for you, Shiloh. I don't want one, but I'll pay for yours, Shiloh. Oh, no. I'd like that, thanks. Shiloh wants to be nice. If people want to be nice to you, if people want to be generous, let them. Let them. Just like when I want to be generous to people, I want people to let me be generous. I want them to let me be generous. I'd like that, thanks. Shiloh gave you a wide grin, as if you were the one buying him ice cream. The four of you continued to walk as ice cream plans were further discussed. Are you getting a popsicle, Lizzie? Yes. Hearing that, Shiloh smiled shyly. I thought you might still like that. I'm gonna get an ice cream cone. Shiloh began to turn towards Cove, but before he could ask, Cove offered up his choice. I'll get an ice cream sandwich. I'm gonna get a popsicle, an ice cream cone, an ice cream sandwich too. It depends. I need to see the flavors. I prefer ice cream over popsicles any day. I do love ice cream sandwiches, but I want to know what the flavors are in an ice cream cone. Shiloh had the right idea for this one. It was the best choice. You still like those? Cool. Yep. Because most of the time when you do ice cream sandwiches, the flavors are more limited, unless you can use the ice cream that are in the canisters to make the custom ice cream sandwiches. But I doubt that's this kind of a place. There was an ice cream stall further up the street, across from a souvenir shop displaying postcards of the seaside and saltwater taffy in its windows. The stand itself was already hard to miss, with its pastel pinks and blues and its eye-catching poster boards listing every individual flavor. It was impossible to ignore once the catchy little jingle playing from its speakers was added. Shiloh greeted the owner and began picking up the treats that everyone had chosen. He paid for them before handing them out to their respective owners. Sinking your teeth into your ice cream cone, you relished the sweet chill it left in your mouth. Liz was right. This was a perfect treat for a summer day. Around you, everyone was eating at their own pace. Liz had her popsicle away from herself, careful not to let it drip onto her dress. She was trying to go about eating it as delicately as she could while Shiloh dug into his. You counted only 2 or 3 bites before Cove had devoured a sandwich. Shiloh laughed, also noticing the way Cove inhaled his food. It's already finished? Cove shrugged a little in reply, his attention more focused on crumpling up the sandwich wrapper in his hand. So, what have you been doing around here since I've been gone? Well, I already told you about me attending college away from here, so I don't really live here anymore. But to be more specific on my life, I'm pursuing a degree in architecture. Shiloh perked up at that, his mouth falling open in awe. Amazing!
Thanks.
I mean, we kind of knew that from the first stage. That's kind of been her thing. It's architecture. Actually, I was thinking about it, and the first time I really decided I liked buildings and building them was when you and I would make sandcastles out on the beach.
Aww.
Yep. Aw, Lizzie. At such a sincere admission dump from your sister, all Shiloh could do was blush and lower his head, too flattered to know what else to say. Liz laughed, just as flustered, though she had been the one to say it. The atmosphere was awkward, but not unpleasant. Shiloh shyly glanced over at you and Cove. Then what about you two? What have you been up to?
Oh,
Me and Vaughn just graduated. High school, I mean. I've got a part-time job. I volunteer at this organization to clean up stuff. Things like that. You nodded along with Cove. You idly explained how you're doing normal things. That's a secret. You explained how you had a lot of plans. I'm mainly taking it easy now. You explained how I always am busy. I always have a lot of plans.